Hey, what's going on, guys? This video is going to be covering each of my boss builds for all 4 Vault Hunters. All the Vault Hunters, except Zane, are very good at killing all the bosses quickly, and I wanted to show what I use for my bossing build, although I usually only do Grave Ward on most of these, and most of them are designed around that. They can be used on basically any boss, and at the end of the video, I'm going to be having clips of me killing each boss with each Vault Hunter. And you'll see that a lot of these builds don't really require too much investment except Zane, and they're going to kill the bosses very quickly, except if you're using Zane. Anyways, let's get into it. First, I'm going to show my builds for each Vault Hunter, and then at the very end of the video, I'll have a clip of each boss kill, which will make this video a pretty long one. Starting off, I'm going to talk about my Moze build. Moze is my personal favorite for killing bosses. I just think that it's pretty interesting how her bottomless mags build work, which is the tree I'm going to be using here. I'm mostly using this tree because Some for the Road is really good where you exit your Iron Bear and you get infinite ammo for 5 seconds. You can get this on a class mod, but I prefer to just take skills in the skill tree. Not that you can't run the class mod instead. So for my build here, I'm running Cloud of Lead, which gives you extra incendiary damage, and on every 4th shot, you don't consume ammo, which is pretty good overall. I also have Match Set here. I like Match Set because a lot of the legendaries have matching parts, and Match Set increases their magazine size, usually. Stoke the Embers is just extra incendiary damage, and that's like a big part of Moze's overall damage, so taking that's good. Redistribution's quite nice because after Moze scores a critical hit, you'll regen extra ammo. Overall, not the most important thing here, but it is nice to have. Scorching RPMs is pretty good because it gives you extra fire rate and extra critical damage. Both are really good for burst damage, which is what we're going to be doing for most of the bosses. A lot of the bosses just get bursted down very, very quickly in this game, so having extra burst damage here is good. The Iron Bank is just extra ammo in your magazine, and the bigger your magazine size is, the more shots you're going to be able to fire, which is relevant especially for the gyro jets, which is what this build uses most. Click Click is pretty good, just more gun damage. Some for the Road, again, this is what we're using to get infinite ammo, which is the main damage dealer of the build. And then Forge I have here because it just adds a little extra ammo regen, not that it's super necessary. In the blue tree, I just have Fire in the Skag Den. This just gives incendiary damage whenever you deal splash damage. Again, we're dealing a pretty good amount of incendiary damage here, so Fire in the Skag Den is pretty good. You can also see that I have 1 point in Pull the Holy Pin and 3 points in Vampire from my class mod. Vampire is good for just some sustain, and Pull the Holy Pin's kind of nice. The second tree here that I've invested heavily into is the red tree, and here I just have Armored Infantry, which is gun damage, while I have Shields active, which is going to be all the time. Flat Off Ingenuity, which is just more shields, and then the shock resist is good at keeping the shields up. Then Red Lion reserves my health and returns the shields. Again, more shields. And then I have Experimental Munitions, which is just more incendiary damage. I picked up Can of Whoop-Ass here just because I need another point to travel down the tree, and since we're getting into Iron Bear a decent amount, it's kind of useful, especially if you're not running the red class mod. And then I have Desperate Measures here, which because we're reserving our health with the Deathless Relic as well as Thin Red Line, we're going to get extra gun damage constantly. Your action skills for this build can be whatever you want. You just have to have them equipped in order to actually get into Iron Bear. Unfortunately, we're not going to be able to use Vanquish the Rocket Pod with target softening for this, just because I don't have enough points invested into the blue tree. Although you could potentially do a blue tree build for this and just run the class mod again for Some for the Road. As for what weapons to use, my favorite weapons to use with this build are the Gyrojet weapons, which are the sticky weapons, which each Gyrojet will increase the damage of all other Gyrojets. This means that the more Gyrojets you're able to stick to an enemy, the more damage you're going to deal. And they do have an expiration timer, so like you can't stick them infinitely. If you wait too long, then the Gyrojets will disappear. Anyways, my favorite weapons for this are the Red Line, and I like Quickies. As the name implies, it's short but exciting. Quickies are Torg sticky launchers that deal a lot of damage and have a huge amount of Gyrojet damage, which means that you're going to get even more damage against bosses, and you can use a Quickie for basically anything. It's just good in any situation. And I like the Red Line because it's full auto, and you can farm it off of a rare spawn in the Splinterlands called Road Dog. But both of these weapons are very easily able to kill Grave Ward or any other boss without too much investment and are just generally good. As for my shield here, I have a rerouter. Not super important to have a rerouter. You can kind of run whatever you want here. Although on the first shot, it will increase your damage. You can run either the Blaster Master or the Bloodletter class mod, or if you have it, a class mod that has Some for the Road on it. And then as for your artifact, I like the Deathless artifact because, again, I'm running the 1 HP build. So I have Elemental Projector Deathless that has increased mag size. I don't even use the Elemental Projector. The mag size is really nice though because it'll give me more ammo, which translates into more damage with the gyrojets. Alright, next up we have Flak. Flak's my second favorite boss killer, and that's mostly just because Fadeaway is uniquely suited to dealing lots of damage in a short burst, and that's what you want in a boss killer. So for this boss killing build, I've heavily invested into the red and the green tree. I have Interplanetary Stalker, which is just bonus damage with a Hunter kill skill, and I am running the Bounty Hunter class mod, which allows me to trigger all of my Hunter kill skills with just regular bullet damage. So again, I have Interplanetary Stalker. I have Leave No Trace just for extra ammo efficiency on my shots. The more ammo I get back, the more I can continue to fire. The class mod here gives me 2 points into Hunter's Eye, and I have 2 points invested. This is pretty good because the bosses are treated as all three of these types, so I get extra crit damage, armor damage, and damage reduction versus bosses. Pretty nice to pick up. Head count is good because if you don't kill them in the first burst of Leave No Trace, then you can get up fast with the cooldown time reduction. Two Fang is pretty self-explanatory. You get a 25% chance for an extra projectile, which is just extra damage. Pretty good, pretty self-explanatory. Big Game I have here because it increases my Hunter skill duration and the effects of them, so I get more damage from them as well as them lasting longer, which is nice. Most Dangerous Game, again, just a really good Hunter kill skill. It's going to go off with my bullet damage, so it should always be up against bosses. Galactic Shadow, extra crit damage, pretty self-explanatory. And then Megavore, which is the crit chance on any body part. Usually it doesn't matter that much, although against certain bosses and just in general, it's quite nice. The second tree I've invested heavily into here is the green tree, and that's mostly just for Fadeaway. With my level of investment, I get both Gorillas in the Mist and I get Unblinking Eye, both of which are very good for dealing boss damage. You know, Gorillas in the Mist allows you to keep up your Fadeaway for 5 seconds, and Unblinking Eye just gives you more crit damage. And again, we're getting lots of crits, so good. So Furious Attack here, it's going to be triggered with gun damage. This will increase my gun damage and handling. The gun damage is the most important thing. Handling's not bad, but I don't really see too much of a difference when I have it up. I have 1 point to sick him here, and that's just because if I have Attack Command Anointment that allows me to leech life back, I like having the extra cooldown on Attack Command. I've taken Overclocked here, which just gives me extra fire rate, as well as extra fire rate after reloading. Which is pretty good. You know, if you don't kill him in the first clip, then you'll have extra uptime for the second clip. I have 3 points into Turntail and Run. You're going to be standing still if you're doing the boss usually, so having this on is really good, as well as like the damage reduction and health regen if you're moving, but it's mostly just for the damage. Lick the Wounds is good if you're playing solo. In any situation, you know, your pet can revive you. You usually won't use this in a boss fight, but maybe, you know, it's worth picking up at least for the 1 point, and there's nothing else we're losing out on by not investing points into. Next up, I have Fast and the Furious, which is just more gun damage while I'm above half health, and you should probably be above half health at all times. And the last 2 points I have here are for Hidden Machine, which just gives you extra damage when the boss is attacking a different target. So like while you're in Fadeaway, this will apply the extra damage, and it's just really good in general. The last 2 points I have invested in the tree are in the blue tree, and that's because Persistence Hunter gives you extra duration on your action skill, which means you have extra duration on Fadeaway, which in this circumstance with 2 points gives you about like an extra 2 seconds on Fadeaway, which is really good. As for my loadout here, you can really use whatever high DPS weapons you like. I have a Maggie, a Dictator, Rowan's Call, and a Lyuda. Those are my top ones that I like using the most. Not that you can't use other weapons, these are just the ones that I like using. My class mod is a Bounty Hunter mod. Again, I have just generic weapon stats here that are pretty good. My artifact here is a Victory Rush artifact. I could definitely get a better artifact, right? You could like run an Elemental Projector and then get more damage with that. I don't, you know, this doesn't give me much damage against bosses as is right now. You could certainly get a better one if you wanted to. As for my shield, I like running the Stopgap here with the action skill cooldown rate. Just for the action skill cooldown, you can run whatever you want, like a transformer or just any other generic damage or health shield. And before I forget, as for pets, you can either run the Jabber with the extra crit damage, or you can run the Spider Ant with the extra elemental damage. It just depends on what weapons you're using for the boss. But as you can see, it's very easy to kill bosses with this, and you'll probably want to match the health type to the damage type. So on Grave Ward here, you want to be running like a heat damage usually. Obviously it'll change depending on the mayhem modifiers. You might have negative incendiary damage or like positive normal bullet damage. Things like that could change what weapon you use. Overall, it's not really that important. You can use kind of whatever you want, and you're going to be dealing good damage. My third favorite bossing character is Amara. One of the biggest advantages you have with Amara is that she has some of the best damage anointments in the game. So you can get like a phase cast anointment that gives you 250% weapon damage, and also a phase slam anointment that can give you 300% weapon damage. Both of which, if you get on a decent weapon, you can use to kill a boss in most cases. If you're looking for like a skill build, this is what I use. I've invested mostly into the blue tree here with 1 point to do harm and 1 point to violent tapestry with 3 points into fast hands. I just have 1 point into each of the rush stack skills just to progress down the tree, and then fast hands is good for the reload speed and weapon swap speed. Transcend is really good. You can actually stack this multiple times, and it gives you 27% crit chance every time you stack it. I have Restless here for the action skill cooldown rate. I have Alacrity here, which is really, really good. The faster you reload, the faster you can deal damage, so having more reload speed is always really nice. 1 point to Transcend just to enhance my augments. Not super important, but you need to progress down the tree. Laid Bare, which is really good. It's just going to increase your damage by 25% against the target if they take damage from your action skill. Wrath is similar, where it gives you gun damage, and then you also get gun damage after action skill use. And then finally, I have Avatar. I like Avatar here because, for one thing, you can stack Transcend 2 times pretty easily, and it also gives you an extra chance to cast your action skill and damage the boss. As for the red tree, which is the second tree that I've invested heavily into here, I have Anima, which is pretty good. It'll increase the status duration, which if you're using Elemental Projector will increase the status duration on yourself, so you'll be able to keep up 90% damage boost from Elemental Projector pretty easily. Steady Hands is just good for handling and accuracy. Then I have points here into Infusion, which I like. You know, if you're running against a boss that has shields as well as health, this allows you to run Shock with Infusion and then also run something like Heat, which I do on my Binary Cutsman. This skill isn't required, but it does allow you to diversify your elements, which I like. Tempest is one of Amara's best skills. It increases elemental damage as well as shock damage. So, you know, if you're getting shock damage from Infusion or any other source, then it's going to boost that as well as your generic elemental damage. I'm taking 1 point to Dread here. It's not really that important to take Dread because you're not going to be grasping enemies in most circumstances with a boss build, but I needed the point, so I took it. And I have Deep Well, which will increase your magazine size on all your weapons that are elemental, and you should be running all elemental weapons with Amara usually. Indiscriminate is somewhat useful. On some bosses it's not, and some bosses the ricochet chance is. I'm mostly taking these points just to get down to Sustainment, which is my source of survivability if I need to lifesteal. And you should be dealing heavy burst damage with this build, so the 8% lifesteal I get from this should be enough to keep you alive. If you wanted to, you could also take more points into the green tree instead of the red tree and just get personal space and Samsara for a little bit of extra damage. If you are going down this path, then I would recommend this variant of the red tree and then this variant of the green tree. Both of these are pretty viable for doing bosses. It just depends on which one you like the most. As for which action skills to use, I like either Phase Slam or Phase Cast. The only boss I use Phase Grip on, I think, is Katagawa Jr. The element you use is really just dependent on what element you want for Infusion. Typically for the augment, I'll run Soul Sap for the lifesteal. You could certainly run Revelation if you're investing into the green tree for the extra action skill area, which helps with triggering your abilities that work with action skill damage. My favorite weapons for Amara are the Lyuda and the Cutsman. The Lyuda is just a generally great weapon for bossing, and the Cutsman's also really good against targets with big hitboxes, and is especially good on Amara if you get a good anointment like I have here with 300% extra weapon damage after Phase Slam. And my Cutsman makes pretty quick work of Grave Ward.
I am the greatest. Talk to the hands.
If you do want to do the elemental projector with like the sellout to increase your incendiary or other damage, then you could also do that with Amara, although I don't really find that necessary, and honestly it's just more work and I'm lazy. So I'll typically not do it because I don't want to spend the time damaging myself and switching weapons, especially when not doing that works just as well. I would say having the anointments on Amara is more important than both Flak and Moze because they're going to give you such a huge damage increase. And if you're not doing something like crit swapping, then you might be a little low on your damage if you're not anointed. Which brings me to crit swapping. I don't personally enjoy doing crit swapping that much. It just seems very cheaty to me. But if you are going to do it, then I would say Amara and Zane are the two prime candidates. Zane most of all because he has the lowest boss DPS of any of them. But without anointments, Amara can struggle a little bit to kill the bosses very quickly. If you're not aware of what crit swapping is, it's basically you shoot out a projectile that has a travel time and then you swap to a weapon with higher crit damage on it, and then that crit damage stat will apply to the projectiles you just shot out, because the game checks the damage on contact and not when you fire. The setup for this is just using like a Cutsman and then an Unforgiven. Unforgiven has the highest crit damage bonus in the game. You can also do it with the Torque shotguns with the sticky projectiles like I was doing on Moze, although with Moze you absolutely don't need the crit swap. But the Unforgiven here, it just gives you extra crit damage, so you swap to this, and then as you can see, it does a huge amount of damage, which again I think is a little cheaty, but if you need that extra push early on to get your build up to killing it very quickly, then this is a technique that you can use. I didn't talk about my other gear here. I have a Berserker class mod, which I think is probably her best class mod. You know, if you get one that has plus damage bonuses to your weapons, then that's really good. I'm running a Transformer just for general survivability, and again I have an Elemental Projector on this just for the extra damage. And last and definitely least, we have Zane. Zane is by far the weakest bosser and general Vault Hunter. If you play with Zane and you play with the other Vault Hunters, then you'll notice that Zane requires about twice the investment to make him feel about half as good as the other Vault Hunters, which I think is a problem overall in his design. Hopefully they rework him. But right now, this is my kill build with Zane. I've designed this build mostly around just killing Grave Ward, and while it can work on the other bosses, you're going to require different items usually on different bosses and try to match the health types as best as possible. And also, like, the modifiers hurt Zane more than any other Vault Hunter. But the primary tree that I've invested in here is the blue tree. So I have Cold Bore, which is the weapon swap speed, as well as the bonus cryo damage. I like the bonus cryo damage with like a launcher because it'll add an extra 30% cryo on top of whatever you're dealing. And cryo is one of the best damage types, so it's just good to have for the extra damage. And I'll show that more when I'm killing Grave Ward. Again, this is built more to kill Grave Ward than other bosses. I have the bonus gun damage from Violent Momentum, which is just gun damage based on the speed you're moving, so the faster you move, the more gun damage you get. Cool Hand, which is the reload speed. Having extra reload is super important. Deathfall is close is good for the kill skill bonus as well as the kill skill duration. I have Violent Violence as well as Playing Dirty here. Playing Dirty is good with the launcher. It's not really good with anything else. This is basically just like a worse version of Flak's skill that does the same thing with an extra projectile. Violent Violence is more fire rate, which is relevant in some cases, and I have it here just because I like the extra fire rate on like Lyuda and some other weapons like that. I have 2 points into Good Misfortune just for my class mod. It's not really important to have that many points into. And then Seeing Red is going to activate all of your kill skills whenever you use an action skill. The red tree here, I have 5 points into Synchronicity, which is going to increase your gun damage based on how many skills you have active. So here we should usually have 2 skills active, both the clone and the shield. Donnybrook is a kill skill, so again, when we activate our ability, we're going to get this effect, which is going to give us gun damage and health regen. The gun damage is the most important thing, but the health will help you survive. And then I have 1 point into Quick Breather here because I am using a rerouter to increase my damage, which I'll talk about in a second. And then for the green tree here, I have 5 points into Adrenaline, which is going to increase my action skill cooldown based on how full my shields are, which is pretty good. And then I also have Ready for Action, which will decrease my shield recharge delay and increase my shield recharge rate. And then the last point here I have is in Confident Competence, which is going to increase gun damage based on my shield percent again, just like Adrenaline. As for my action skills, I use both the Barrier, which is going to increase my damage by 25% whenever I'm shooting through it, and then I have Nanites or Some Shite, which is the negative recharge delay and health regen as well as a little bit of reload speed. And then I also have the All-Rounder, which is my favorite shield because it just goes around your entire character, which prevents damage from all directions. As for the skills of my Digiclone, I have which one's real, which is the taunt, and then I also have the Schadenfreude, which again is pretty good for the rerouter. Which brings me to my gear. Basically the Zane build is all the good weapons, so you just try to use whatever good weapons you can, and make no mistake, using these weapons on a different character will probably yield better results in almost all circumstances. As for the anointments, the Digiclone anointments are going to be the best, so you want to try to get the Digiclone increased damage or weapon reload anointment. Those are the two that you want on Zane. So here I usually use like a Burning Scourge or a Lyuda for most of my kills. I also have a Flagger here that's pretty good. It just depends on the situation and what you're trying to do. Like I mentioned before, I have a health rerouter. The health rerouter is going to increase my bonus damage while my shield is full, so you'll see my shield go down occasionally, and then it'll recharge pretty quickly with my skill build, but you know, I just have this for a little extra damage, which Zane desperately needs. As for my class mod, I'm using a blue class mod, which is the Executor. This one just has action skill cooldown, shotgun damage, and some reload speed on it. The kill skill is pretty nice as well. You really want this, I guess, for the kill skill and not so much for the bonuses unless you have good bonuses. My artifact is a Elemental Projector Victory Rush. I have this just really for the Elemental Projector, so I can use a sellout to damage myself and get a bonus, and then use that bonus against a boss if I'm going to. Which I don't really do that often, but it is a useful thing to have. Basically, this build in its current iteration is built around killing Grave Ward. It's just not worth the effort, I don't think, to build Zane around killing more than one boss at a time, because it's just such a pain in the ass for Zane to boss at endgame, at least on Mayhem 3. And you'll definitely see the kills on the other bosses in a second are going to be slower than the one on Grave Ward, because I built Zane for Grave Ward specifically. But that's going to cover it for all my bossing builds. If you have a question, please leave it in the comments below. I know this is a long video. I tried to cover it all as quickly as possible. Hopefully it wasn't too quickly. I know I do tend to do that sometimes. But if there's something I didn't talk about, or if there's something I missed, then please do leave a comment below. And if you made it this far in the video, I'd appreciate it if you leave a like. But that's going to do it for me. Real have a good one, and I'll see you later.
Another knife in the bar! It's time to fight!
Why even try?
I'm the fake! I'm the fake! Death comes for us all! But you... Forward and be cleansed! Rise, little worm!
Right in the kisser!
God's queen will consume you!
Smacked down! Right in the kisser! Drop these idiots!
Your petty quest leads only to ruin! I see it. God queen will time to kill. Goodbye, the God Queen! Have fun, rotten. Run! Run, you weakling! Belong to the Twin God!
Get over here, heretic! Get good or die.
Little
Did you see that?
I live for this!
Run from me!
The great fall!
Surf's up!
Yes, into the fray!
Coursing through my veins.
That dashing fook over there was making eyes at your sister!
Well, crap. About time.
Have your alarm warning!
Scrub.
More respect than you give.
Some electricity! Feel the spark!
Feeling good.
Don't worry, still look at me.
Feel the spark!
Tossing barrier!
That loving feeling!
After I consume that, I'm coming for the raid. Try it? And I'll use your pay for that!
Geronimo!
Cheap shot. You'll pay for that!
I can take it! Ah, here there, good looking.
Enjoy! Now what are you gonna do?
Ferocity's my middle name. Then ferocity.
Got some work for you. Swing on by. My door's open. Or destroyed.
Oh, you fuck!
You're on the menu.
Come get some. I'll take that.
I'll handle this myself. Not a team.
Hi, my door's open.
I'll get down to the trenches.
Damn it! But fuck!
Don't call us, we'll call you.
Too weak to survive. Stupid zero tech!
Got some work for you. Swing on by. My door's open.
I can feel the power. I'm ready for a fight.
Stupid zero tech!
Hey, there's my favorite corporate.
Damn it! Whew! Still got it. Itching for a fight. Oh, you fuck!
wisely, suckers!
Not a team.
Learn your put.
Ooh.
Stupid zero tech. No!
Don't hold back! Stalking prey.
I'm unstoppable! I'm down for a brawl.
I'm the fake! I'm the fake! You couldn't hit a cow's arse with a banjo.
May they bring you many kills.
Step to the wrong chick!
Yes, into the fray.
Child's play.
Now entering the clone zone.
Come here, girl. Stop trying to make me angry! Wanna tangle, Beastmaster? Have fun rotting. Let's go! You won't lose it!
artist.
Me gonna lose it! No, me good. Should not have done. I am real. Now I'm coming for you, Jeremy. See you in your nightmares.
Could use some cover!
I never took up painting.
Sorry for the cold reception.
Not fair! Finding cover!
And a howl.
Leave me with my drenching heart! Holy hands on patrol! I am the spearman with God!
Should have brought a warmer coat. I shall die today.
Feel the holy fire!
Fury.
Don't die on me.
Bloody inferiors.
Distract them for me.
Better to kneel than be a meal. Feels so good. You're not on Pandora anymore. The time to flee a terror was long ago.
Pop your head wide open!
Not today.
Irene, protect!
No. The weather inside is frightful.
I'm not afraid to fight!
I'm unstoppable. Good.
Don't run from me, heretic! Not today!
Let's have a chat, shall we?
What a nuisance! I could crush you with my wallet! The cut and the howl!
In a second!
See? I got tricks.
Stop and run!
Damn you!
Stop shooting at me!
It takes a bolt hunter to kill a bolt hunter!
I'm not hiding!
Filthy hand! You're nothing but...
Come here, you cutie idiot!
Opening up a finely aged cask of whoop-ass.
Kill the Bolt Hunter! Bombing run!
Go!
Stay out of it! Rip them limb from limb!
Ready to unleash this power! Run! Moving on!
Complicated, and I wish you'd stay out of it! Better duck and cover!
Deadly. Don't worry, you can still look at me.
Rip them limb from limb!
Nobody does.
let the life bleed from you.
Ready to unleash this power!
Did you see that?
Witness the Agonizer 9000! Enjoy the spotlight! Peekaboo, Vault Thief! Viewers, comment in the stream and tell us how you want the Vault Thief to die. We got moderators standing by. Viewers, comment in the stream and tell us how you want the Vault Thief to die. We got moderators standing by. Here's how you make an entrance. Viewers, comment in the stream and tell us how you want the Vault Thief to die. We got moderators standing by.
I'm unstoppable!
Viewers, comment in the stream and tell us how you want the Vault Thief to die. We got moderators standing by. Enjoy the spotlight, asshole.
Already forgot about you.
How you make an entrance. Viewers, comment in the stream and tell us how you want the Vault Thief to die. We got moderators standing by. Our Vault Thief is on fire. Or at least they're about to be. Make some noise, you filthy animals!
Could use some cover!
Like, follow, and obey.
Hey, break's over. We're all in. Terror, hit everybody. Hey, Tiny, get bent. This isn't over. Terror, hit them. Shadows. How are your last breaths going?
Let's go around, huh? Feeling good.
I'm the fish! I'm the fish! You got a death wish?
Now get out of here.
Chop, chop! Oh, you wish you had some of this! Is that all you got? We're so close, Tyree! Almost there, Tyrene! You can't run from me!
Try to keep up. I'll take that.
Elpis is charged! You lost! Come a little closer!
Yes, into the fray.
Get chopped, Vault Thief! Nope! I feel so powerful!
lost. Coming at ya!
Coursing through my veins.
Nah.
I'm ready for a fight.
I know, there's no more!
I'm unstoppable.
Gah. That's a good-looking bullet sponge. Get chopped, Vault Thief! Magic wall! Ta-da! Come on, come on! Almost there, Tyrene! You can't run from me! Sword time, bitch! It's too late, Vault Thief! You failed!
Diary coming at you live from...
Me? A god!
Oh, look! Dead meat.
More! I need more! Oh yeah? Fine! Get wrecked! Stay back! Unstoppable! Now! You're ready to pounce. Screw that door!
I will return. Another! More! You there, how are your last breaths going? I am unseen. Beast, stay strong! More power! Big mistake! Nobody does. This is the end!
Ready to unleash this power!
You'll regret that! The wait is over!
Top to the hands!
Could use some more power!
Coursing through my veins! Yeah!
So, you wanna play?
Ha! Down you go!
Bring it on, bitch!
Could use some cover!
Powering up! Oh, you done goose!
See? I got tricks!
You asked for it! This is the end!
You couldn't hit a cow's arse with a banjo!
Recharging!
Double it up!
Big mistake! Big rest!
Better leave before you get hurt.